on, guys? It is Jaden and our resident expert Caleb here with Fantasy Tomorrow to bring you week 11 videos, okay? This one we are going to be talking waiver wires. We all know how important it is to have good players to get those good fantasy points. So don't you worry, we have just the players for you. But before we really dive into that, we're going to have Caleb tell us who is on bye for week 11.
So the Bills, the Bears, the Giants, and the 49ers are all on bye this week. So definitely some very popular players such as Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Allen Robinson. All of those players are all on bye this week. So definitely we'll have to find some replacements for them.
Okay, so now we know who's on bye. So let's go on ahead and just dive right in. Caleb, what quarterback should we be looking to stream off the waiver wire?
So the first one I really like a lot is Alex Smith for the Washington football team. Now, Alex Smith has never been the guy to put up crazy fantasy numbers. He's never been somebody that's been a consistent top 10 fantasy option. But for the first time in his career, Alex Smith is coming off of back-to-back 300-yard passing games. And he's been doing really, really good. He's actually looked quite efficient in those couple of games where he's played. And I really like this matchup that they have in Week 11 going up against the Bengals. So I really think that Smith is going to be a valuable streamer for this week. He has a good chance at becoming a top 10 quarterback for this week. I also like Kirk Cousins for the Minnesota Vikings. He's facing the Dallas defense, and Dallas has one of the worst defenses in the league. I think that they should be able to throw all over the Cowboys if they want to. The scary thing with Cousins is we know that the Vikings like to run the ball quite a bit, so that could kind of take away some of his upside, but there's also a good chance that he throws a couple of touchdowns in this game, and that really could make him a very valuable streamer. And then lastly, I really like streaming Jameis Winston this week. He, of course, is the backup quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, and they're going up against the Falcons this week, but because Drew Brees is injured, he's not going to be playing in this game. Winston is valuable. Last year, Jameis Winston was the number 3 scoring quarterback in the league, so he definitely has the ability, and he likes to throw the ball a lot. They have plenty of weapons in that Saints offense, so I think Winston is going to be a valuable streamer this week. I think he's somebody that has huge potential to be a good add to your team going forward as well, as long as Brees is out.
Okay, and let's be honest, Caleb, we all know you're still stuck on Alex Smith since he used to play for the Chiefs. But now that we have our QBs, are there any running backs we should be looking to stream?
Yeah, there were a few that really kind of blew up this week. Specifically, first off, Nyheim Hines. He played on Thursday night. Of course, he's running back for the Indianapolis Colts. He was going up against the Tennessee Titans, and he had a huge game. He received the most touches out of all of those running backs for the Colts. He was seeing a lot of work. He seemed to be the running back that they could really trust in important situations, and he was seeing the majority of the passing work out of all those running backs as well. So because of all of that, he's probably the most trustable Colts running back right now, even more so than Jonathan Taylor, who's just been very disappointing the last few weeks. So if you need somebody that you could start and is likely still available on waivers, go and get Nyheim Hines. I also really like Wayne Gallman, running back for the New York Giants. Now, the Giants are on bye this upcoming week, as we said, but Gallman's been a very special back. He's been taking over the workload for the Giants ever since Devonta Freeman left with injury. And even if Freeman does come back, I do think that Gallman has proven that he is worth giving those touches to in the backfield. So I think he's going to have value whether Freeman is there or not. So I really think that you should go and pick up Gallman if he's still available. I also really like Kalen Ballage, running back for the Los Angeles Chargers. He's had 2 weeks in a row where he performed really well, and he's been running just really good. He's been the consistent rusher in that backfield over the last couple of weeks, with both Justin Jackson and Austin Eckler still banged up. And going forward, as long as Eckler and Jackson are out, I think Ballage is somebody that you can count on. Now, for a handcuff option, I really like Devontae Booker. Now, as we are going towards the fantasy playoffs, we need to start building our rosters with players that could potentially win us our league if something broke right. Now, if Josh Jacobs was to get hurt for the Raiders, Booker would step in and take over all of his touches, and he's a player that could end up winning you your league if Jacobs were to get hurt. So if Booker's available, stash him just in case Jacobs gets hurt, and even if he doesn't, Booker's been getting a lot of garbage time work in that backfield. He's been running for a couple of touchdowns, I think 3 touchdowns the last couple of games, and that's definitely something that's valuable, so he's definitely somebody to add. Then also Salvon Ahmed for the Miami Dolphins. Now, he's been taking over the Dolphins' running back carries with both Myles Gaskin and Matt Breida being out with injury. So as long as Gaskin and Breida are out, Ahmed's been the guy that they've been giving touches to. He had over 20 touches this past week. They trust him in and around the goal line. So he's definitely somebody that you can start in a pinch if you need to. And then finally, in deeper leagues, I like Rex Burkhead for the New England Patriots. Now, obviously, there's nothing really super great about Burkhead. He's a very utilitarian guy. I think that's why Bill Belichick likes him so much. But he's been seeing quite a bit of work on passing downs. He's getting a lot of catches out of the backfield. And he's been seeing quite a few carries. He's actually been outproducing James White in recent weeks. And he does his thing. He has a pretty high floor, especially in deeper leagues where sometimes you're just having to start anybody that has a pulse. Well, Burkhead definitely has a pulse. He's someone that you can go and start in a pinch if you need to.
Awesome. So there's your running backs. And now it's time to talk wide receivers. So, Caleb, are there any wide receivers we should be looking to pick up for Week 11?
Yeah, so my favorite one is Michael Pittman Jr. For the Indianapolis Colts. Now, he has been injured, been banged up this year, so he hasn't been able to have the rookie season that many of us expected going into the year. But he looked great in Week 10. He hauled in 7 catches on 8 targets, and he's likely the most trustworthy receiver for the Colts. So he's definitely someone that can be added and be started in a pinch. I also really like Jacoby Myers for the New England Patriots. Now, for 2 straight weeks, he's had a great game, and he really seems to be the person that Cam Newton trusts to catch the ball in that offense. It used to be Julian Edelman, but Edelman's been banged up, can't trust him anymore. So Myers is now finding himself in that role. So he's a very solid wide receiver 3 or flex option for your team. Cole Beasley is actually another really good option for this week. He was actually the number 1 scoring wide receiver this past week. And the Bills are really back to throwing the ball. There was a few weeks there where the Bills had kind of lost their identity. They weren't having the explosive offense that they had seen earlier in the year, but now it seems like they found it again, and Cole Beasley is benefiting from that. So if he's available on waivers, absolutely go and grab him. In deeper leagues, I like Jakeem Grant for the Miami Dolphins. Ever since Preston Williams got hurt, Grant has kind of taken that opportunity and ran with it. He caught 2 touchdowns in Week 10. And he's somebody that's definitely going to provide you some value in deeper leagues, as is Willie Snead for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, with Snead, you have to be careful because sometimes he'll just find himself kind of game planned or out of a game, especially if the Ravens are leading and they just decide to run the ball down their opponent's throat. But recently, Baltimore's offense has been struggling. They haven't been getting up on their opponents. That means that Lamar Jackson has been having to throw the ball more, and that means that Snead is getting more targets. So in those games when the Baltimore Ravens are playing teams that have a good offense and could find themselves trailing, I would feel okay with having to play Snead because he's going to get some looks even around the end zone. So definitely a valuable player to have, especially in a deeper league. And then finally, Keelan Cole for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, he's been a little inconsistent this year. He had a couple of games in a row where he didn't really score many points at all. But over the last couple of weeks, he's finally rebounded. He's putting together some good performances, and he's someone that can really boom for your team if you need him to. He's someone that you could throw in at a flex, and he could absolutely go off and could be someone that could win you your league or win you your week. So definitely give him a shot as well in those deep leagues.
And after last week, it looks like there's some tight ends that we should be looking at. So which tight ends should we be trying to pick up off the waiver wire?
Yeah, so again, tight end is a wasteland, and usually you're just looking for any sort of glimmer of hope with these guys. And there's just only a couple that I really like this week. First is Logan Thomas for the Washington football team. We know, being Chiefs fans, the connection that Alex Smith had with Travis Kelce. Even before Alex Smith came to Kansas City, he had a really good connection with Vernon Davis in San Francisco. And Alex Smith has just been a guy that likes to target tight ends and running backs. And we really saw that in this first start for Alex Smith. Thomas was targeted quite a bit, and he had the highest yardage game of his season with Alex Smith in a quarterback. So I think that Thomas is somebody that you can start, and he's probably going to see enough volume to produce and have a solid floor for a tight end. And then also Dalton Schultz for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Dallas has really struggled to find their footing offensively ever since Dak Prescott had to leave with that gruesome ankle injury. But Schultz has still been seeing quite a few targets, especially in recent weeks. He's starting to come around, and that's kind of what you're searching for with tight ends, especially if you're trying to stream them, or maybe you had George Kittle, you got hurt, or something bad has happened. And I think Schultz is somebody that can step in and produce. Eventually, those targets are going to translate into points, and I like Schultz's matchup this week too, going up against the Vikings. Dallas is likely going to be passing the ball a lot in this game. They're probably going to be trailing, and that Vikings secondary can be taken advantage of. So I like Schultz's matchup, so you could also give him a stream if you need to.
Awesome. Okay, guys, so those are all your offensive players, but as we all know, Caleb loves to change his defenses up weekly. So which defenses should we be targeting this week?
Yeah, so there's two. The first is the just de facto team that's playing the Jets, which this week is the Chargers. They just announced that Joe Flacco is going to be starting in this game for the Jets. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is up for debate, but it does mean that the Jets are going to turn over the ball a little bit, probably allow a few sacks, which is good for the opposing defense. So play the Chargers this week. I think that they're going to produce plenty of fantasy points. Then I also really like the Miami Dolphins. They're going up against the Broncos. Drew Lock has not been playing good football. He's also dealing with a bit of an injury. And I think that they are just going to be prone to allowing some sacks and turning the ball over, which is good for the Miami Dolphins defense. And the Dolphins defense has been performing really well in recent weeks. You remember that game where they played the Rams and Jared Goff, and I think Jared Goff turned the ball over 4 times against Miami. And I think that they just have a really explosive defense that can score some points too. So definitely a high upside defense that should do pretty well going up against the Broncos this week.
Okay, guys, so now that we got Caleb's weekly hate of the Jets and you guys got your waiver wire targets, go out there and pick them up, okay? With that, we're going to say see you later to Caleb, and I'm going to throw up a recap for you and let you know that my name's Jaden, and this is Fantasy Tomorrow, where we are here to give you the information to learn today and win tomorrow. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. You won't regret it, okay? Until next time.